It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a football Friday night. Can you believe it? We've got one more left in us. A football Friday night. It feels like a football Friday night sort of in September. Temperature is a little warm. It's been raining. But as far as the Belk Bowl tomorrow in Charlotte, I think the rain's going to be out of the way. We should be fine from a weather standpoint. The temperature is supposed to be moderate. And, of course, out in Texas for the Cotton Bowl tomorrow afternoon. Of course, they're indoors, but otherwise the weather should be fine as well. We have got a great lineup for you here tonight on this Friday edition of Sports Talk. Will Pelagic is in Dallas, so more from Clemson. I was back in Charlotte today with the Gamecocks. Got plenty of good stuff coming from them as we not only talked about the game, we talked with some of the guys who are in position to leave for the NFL about that and got their thoughts, and some interesting things are being thought about, I think. And we'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Our football filibuster coming up as well with Governor Hodges and Lieutenant Governor Bauer. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. Ellis Johnson in hour number 2, 4th and goal with Ellis Johnson tonight as we wrap things up on this Friday night, a very busy week, and we look ahead to the weekend of bowl games, in particular the Belk Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. So as far as things with the Gamecocks go today, Will Muschamp and 5 Gamecocks met with the media, and Bronco Mendenhall and 5 Cavaliers met with the media. We were all together downtown in Charlotte at the convention center. As far as the news goes from the Gamecocks, no major changes. Aaron Sterling will be out, according to Muschamp. Rosendo Lewis should play despite having been in yellow all week, and Kier Thomas also should play. And Jalen Dickerson should get some run in there at safety, so that'll help some back in the secondary as he comes off the hamstrings injuries. Outside of that, no other news from the Gamecocks in terms of their personnel. Muschamp said everybody's behaved, everybody's made curfew. There's been nothing related to flunking any tests, related to the NCAA or anything like that, so they're all good to go. As far as the players who we talked to about the NFL, we have decisions in from Jake Bentley and Donnell Stanley. Both said they know what they're going to do. They're going to say it sometime after the bowl game. That doesn't necessarily mean in the locker room or in the post-game press conference after the bowl game, but sometime thereafter. It could happen then. A lot of times it leaks out or it just happens, or they might wait until the first part of next week. But Donnell said he got, in his words, a positive reply from the NCAA. Of course, he would be a 6-year guy. And that has to weigh on him. I mean, 6 years in college, though, as he said to us, you know, he's only going to be 24. He's 23. He'll be 24. He says, I got no bills to pay. He said, what young man wouldn't want to be in my position, talking about coming back for another year? So he's not discounting that. And then Jake Bentley said, you know, he's talked it over with Muschamp, as has Stanley. They both have talked it over with Muschamp as far as what they're thinking about doing. So all are on the same page there. And then Brian Edwards said that he has not made a decision about what he's going to do. He's going to take a couple of days after the bowl game to make a decision. He's gotten his NFL paperwork back as well. So that's where things stand with those 3 guys. Let's go out to Dallas. Will Pelagic has been with the Tigers this week, and I guess today was also the wrap-up day media-wise for the coaches and the players there as the Cotton Bowl, the national semifinal between the Tigers and the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame right around the corner.
Speak for yourself on the weather front, Corn. It's going to be 44 tomorrow. So that's not good.
But you're
it's
indoors.
Unseasonably cool. Yeah, I am indoors, and the one good thing about the media shuttle from the media headquarters here is that the bus drops you off underneath Jerry World, so we don't necessarily have to be outside, but far from ideal weather in Big D, but certainly the temperature was turned up this week when it comes to Clemson and the adversity. At least the adversity temperature was turned up, and of course we found out last night right here on Sports Talk. We told you first that the NCAA confirmed that the B samples of Dexter Lawrence, Braden Galloway, and Zach Ayala came back positive just like the initial sampling, meaning that all 3 players will not play this upcoming week, and of course that leaves the rest of the season for them in doubt if the Clemson Tigers do advance beyond Notre Dame to play for a national championship. Dabo Swinney did also lay a little bit of a window into the fact that this also could have some future impacts on both Galloway and Gaiella. Lawrence also, if he decides to come back for another season, although that's looking kind of bleak right now, especially if there's a penalty in the offing. He said that there's a long runway, the quote from him, between now and the fall. but there could be some additional consequences left for those three. They're going to go through an appeal process with Dan Radakovich, kind of the point person there on that, and we're going to try and see if we can get him on next week if Clemson does go through and make the national championship, kind of get his thoughts on just exactly what has happened from the standpoint of still not knowing where exactly that substance and how it entered the bodies of those three suspended players. But outside of that, the Tigers had a brief walkthrough today on the field at AT&T Stadium. The mood was light and carefree, even though Dabo Swinney looked like a man this morning that looked kind of haggard and maybe almost a little restless and maybe short on sleep. But the Tigers, at least from the mood, when we talked to them yesterday at Media Day, seem upbeat. They have been trying to enjoy the week as it was. Everybody's saying all the positive things about the Cotton Bowl, not just the hospitality, but also some of the outside activities. The Tigers actually visited a children's hospital yesterday, so that was a cool thing for Dabo Swinney and the players to get involved with. But as opposed to everything else, much of the same has been said over the course of this week. Will the Dexter Lawrence loss impact Clemson greatly? Will the ability for Notre Dame to run the football be an X factor in this game? And can Clemson overcome the efficiencies in the secondary and against a potential quick game threat of Ian Book and the wide receivers of Notre Dame in order to get themselves past the level that they could not get past last year, Pro? And the one thing that I keep going back to is I think that Clemson, pound for pound, is the more talented team. But I do think the fact that Dabo Swinney will have to use a little bit more of a motivational tactic and kind of an underdog situation here, he's gotten the ammunition he needs to kind of push the Tigers in a direction where they probably didn't foresee themselves going as favorites going into this game.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been hearing all day the new mantra. This is the first time that in the history of the college football playoff, the two undefeated teams are playing. I said, well, the history is only 4 years old. What are you talking about? The key point is we have not been able to talk about just the team makeups because of the drug situation. But, when I look at it, I think Clemson, not only from a standpoint of just pure talent, is more talented than Notre Dame. I think their team speed is going to be something that Notre Dame has not seen this year. And I think that probably, in my mind, Corn, is going to be the difference in this football game. Clemson is just a faster team on special teams, defense, and offense.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Guys, before we get into the fun and frivolity of tonight, a somber note as WLTX-TV in Columbia has released the information that former sports director Bob Shields passed away earlier today at the age of 59. For those of us in the media and for fans across the Midlands area and much of the state, Bob was a good friend and a familiar face and a familiar voice and a man with a big, big heart, and he is going to be sorely missed. Very saddened to hear of his passing. He had been battling cancer going on now for several years, and at one point it looked like he had beaten the disease, but it came back viciously and has taken his life at the age of 59. So we're all very saddened to hear that, and we, of course, send along our condolences to all of his other friends. We consider him a friend. And his family members as well. I doubt you ever got a chance to meet Bob, but certainly, Pro, you had a lot of experiences with him.
Yeah, Bob always, the enthusiasm for his job was always seen through when you saw him in person at events or on the air. You could see the enthusiasm he had for it. But his legacy will stand on because really the creation of the Player of the Week award for the high school kids in South Carolina, very important, I think, in the Midlands. Really.
Totally dedicated to his craft, extremely dedicated to the high schools here in the Midlands area, giving them a terrific coverage. He was missed when he walked away from the TV studio a few years ago, and now certainly he'll be missed entirely with his passing. Our thoughts and prayers to the family of Bob Shields from here at Sports Talk.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Well, bowl action already hot and heavy today. The SEC showing some muscle with Auburn just annihilating Purdue. Listen to that game coming back from Charlotte. What was it, 56-7 at the half?
Yes.
Yeah. And they end up winning 63-7. And right now you've got West Virginia and Syracuse, and I've lost count of the score. You count the score?
It's 9-7 West Virginia.
And West Virginia playing with his backup quarterback because Jack Allison, I think it is. Jack Allison? Something Allison.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Jack Allison.
It's not
Because
Bobby or Davey, is it?
No, I don't think either one of those is Bobby still with us? Yeah, I think Bobby's still with us. Davey's not.
Yes.
Anyway, your attempted humor was missed. And West Virginia is leading Syracuse 9-7 at this point.
2-run homer.
All right, so today in Charlotte, it was media day. They did a really nice job, the folks with the Belk Bowl. They did a really nice job organizing this thing. What they did was they brought in 5 players from each team and both head coaches and brought them in at the same time and put them all at different tables so the media could go from table to table to table. And the coaches sat there a long, long time, as long as they were needed. Muschamp was there for almost an entire hour. He was really interesting to listen to, talking about the game and the various ins and outs of preparing for Virginia. He had a very long give and take with Josh Kendall of the State about recruiting rankings. And, his opinion of recruiting rankings pretty much falls in the same line as mine. And that is, he views them as meaningless. They do not recruit off of recruiting rankings. He said, that recruiting rankings are fraudulent because this is Muschamp talking, but it's same things I've said before too. They're fraudulent because a player who gets, like he said, when he was at Texas and there was a player who was being recruited and he was a lower rated kid, if Texas offered him, all of a sudden the kid's star rating goes up, and he also said kids who don't go through the summer camp combines or through these various combines in the spring that these networks put out, they get lower rated because they're not in those camps. They're not paying the money to go to the camps, and they're not seen by the people who are doing the rankings. Plus, he questions who's doing the rankings. He's a professional coach, and he also realizes that, like even in the NFL, guys who spend months, if not years, breaking down tape and trying to analyze talent get it wrong all the time when it comes to the draft. So he understands the nuances of trying to judge talent and really doesn't believe that guys who've never really coached the game at a high level or played at a high level can do it adequately, I suspect. That being as it may, the primary part of his comments was about tomorrow's game against Virginia and also about his team and the preparation for Virginia. Went through 2 hard practices in Charlotte following their practices in Columbia, scheduled for a walkthrough today at the stadium. I don't know if they actually did that because of the rain. Anyway, here is some of what Muschamp had to say about working and getting his team ready and also looking ahead to Virginia.
Very pleased. We had 2 practices, a walkthrough on Christmas night, and we'll have a walkthrough this afternoon. But you go back to Columbia with the first day was a little rocky. But past that, I've been very pleased with how the guys have approached the game. And I think that's really mindset-wise the most critical thing in winning a bowl game is the mindset of where your team is, and I like where we are.
What do you think come along in center?
Hank's been fine. We've got a lot of combinations there. Whether it's Chandler goes and plays center, Donnell can go back to center, and Blake Camper can play guard. So we'll continue to look at that through the walkthrough today. But again, we haven't made a decision on that yet.
Do you think this is more likely to be an offensive game?
I don't know. We hadn't played as well defensively, especially down the latter part of the season. We need to play better. But again, we've played really well offensively. We've improved week to week throughout the year. We need to play better on defense.
Well, what's their secondary done this year so effective?
Well, Hall is an outstanding player. He's an elite talent. Obviously, he's an NFL guy. But they do a great job of creating turnovers. I think they're 14th in the country in interceptions. They got really good ball skills down the field as far as guys going and attacking the football. They give you a lot of different looks in the secondary, a lot of different coverage concepts we'll have to adjust through throughout the game because they do some different things week to week. So we'll have to make some adjustments on game day. We understand that.
Bryce in the last 2 seasons. What is this young man effort has?
Well, I think about Bryce is he's always got a smile on his face. He's a resilient young man. He's been an outstanding player for us when he's been on the field. Obviously, he's had some tough breaks as far as injuries and those things are concerned. But the thing that Bryce brings to the table every day for our organization is his effort. He plays extremely hard, and that's a talent. Some guys don't understand that. To have that ability and that talent, that means an awful lot. But he's meant a lot to our program. We appreciate him and his contributions, and I'm looking forward to him having a great Saturday.
What's the latest on Kier and Jacinda? They've been in the yellow the last 2 days.
Yeah, well, they'll play. We'll see, how much on game day, how much they'll be able to go. They'll play.
Everybody's still good, no curfew violations, anything like
Nope,
that?
we're all good.
Well, what will it mean as far as like building your program to have these seniors if they can go out with 2 straight bowl wins? I mean, you made a bowl all 3 of your first seasons here in Carolina. How important would that be?
Well, I think it's critical. I think Bronco said it best. 8 looks a lot more better than 7 at the end of the day. But these guys have built a very solid foundation for us moving forward. They see where the culture of our program is heading, and they've been a huge part of that. And I appreciate all their contributions to our program.
What's your biggest concern going into the UVA game?
Well, I mean, their run game is they have a vast variety of run concepts that they have. They present a lot of issues. They outnumber you in the run game because of the quarterback, and he creates an extra gap when he's a ball carrier. So they've got some option principles to what they do. And we're going to have to adjust to the different things that they're going to present to us on game day. They have a different little package each week. They've got a lot of personnel groupings that they try and go through. So we're going to have to make some adjustments on game day to what they're doing to give us issues. So that's something that's a huge concern. And obviously defensively, they've been very hard to create explosive plays against. They haven't given up a lot of explosive plays, and they're very long and athletic in the front 7. So they got a good football team. They had some very difficult losses, 2 overtime losses in their season. And, I've got a lot of respect for Bronco and his staff.
Well, I know you won't be able to tell until you kick it off tomorrow, but is there one area or a couple of areas that you're pretty confident that you've been able to improve during this break and during the bowl practice?
Well, I think, getting some guys back on defense is going to help, obviously. You get a guy like Bryce back and J.C. Horn back and Jalen Dickerson. I mean, we're getting some guys back healthy, and that to me is helped tremendously and a difference you've seen in our defense in bowl practice.
How much is not having Samuel impact you?
Well, I don't know that anybody replaces Deebo Samuel. He's an outstanding football player. He's got a great work ethic on the field as far as practice. He positively affects everybody around him. But again, we got to understand we weren't going to have him next year. So we've got to learn to have some guys step up. I don't think one person does that. It's going to take multiple people to do that. And obviously we're excited about Shy Smith and Josh Van and Kiel Pollard's done a nice job in the slot for us. And we'll have multiple guys have to step up.
Game plan-wise, does it change anything you do, or the same? Pretty much.
No, same approach. We're going to play with some tempo, and I think that's been very beneficial for us. Spread the ball around a little bit. We still have some guys, I think, Brian Edwards and Shy Smith, and so some of our backs have all had really good seasons and got to continue to step up and play well.
All right, Will Muschamp from the presser today, guys. I think the one thing that scares the hell out of the Gamecocks for this game is the quarterback and his ability to run with the football. Bryce Perkins, 6'3", 210, kid with a bunch of hair under the helmet, much like, kind of a different style of hair compared to the hair at Clemson. Got a nice arm, but Will, I think the thing that you have to be most worried about there is his ability to keep plays alive with his legs.
You do, and anytime you have a mobile quarterback, I mean, you saw it against Kentucky a year ago, you have to be gap principled, and when you have guys who are not used to playing against that scheme, that's a difficult thing. And I think, too, from South Carolina's perspective, some guys who probably played in that Kentucky game who are going to be contributors in this game will have to grow up really quick in about a half a season because they're going to have those gap principles in order to be on top come Saturday.
Well, And having Bryson Allen Williams back with his leadership and his experience will no doubt help getting people in the right spots. Okay, football filibuster coming up. Well, we've waited all year for this moment here on Sports Talk. We come to the end of another football filibuster season. What a battle it has been all season long between Governor Hodges, Lieutenant Governor Andre Bauer. Governor Hodges, after a 4-1 championship week, leads 44-26. Lieutenant Governor Bauer, a 3-2 championship week, 42-28, as we go into the bowl season picks with 10 games available. So a lot of things can happen here during the bowl season. Let me welcome both to a Sports Talk. Hope you've had great holidays so far. Governor Hodges, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Phil. I'm very, very good, and looking forward to tonight.
Well, I'm pleased that you're with us because there'd been some rumor that you were thinking about skipping the bowl season and moving on to other professional things in your life. So we're glad that you're sticking with us.
Well, I still may. If halfway through, if Andre Bowers has his A game on, I might, for risk of embarrassment, I might decide not to play in the bowl game.
Well, you can always hit him and get a targeting penalty and get thrown out.
Andre, how's your holidays been?
It's fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Hey, you know, they took the Gamecocks to Charlotte Motor Speedway and let them go around the track there. I think next time they should take them to the Myrtle Beach Speedway and let you take them around a few times.
Yeah, I'd love to do with them.
How fast would you? They were doing about 160 at Charlotte. What can you do at your place?
I've hit 189.93 at Charlotte.
Oh, you have 189.93.
Yeah.
What's the fastest at Myrtle Beach?
It'd be right around 100.
Yeah. That's a walk in the park for you.
Yeah, it is. That is a walk in the park.
That's foot off the gas and just sort of gliding. All right, gentlemen. Hope you've done your homework, Andre. Are you ready? You're 2 games back now. You can't play Mr. Nice here.
I'm on.
Okay, you must be at the beach or something. I'm hearing a lot of noise in the background.
I'm back. I'm up in the mountains.
Oh, you're in the mountains. Okay.
I'm up on the top of a telephone pole.
We used to have a loyal caller from the top of a telephone pole.
This is from a party line.
Is that right? Hope nobody breaks in. Governor, are you in good place?
Yes, sir. I am in downtown Charlotte.
How's the weather?
It's windy and starting to get a little cold, and it's wet. But I am seeing a lot of Gamecock fans up here.
Okay. You know, everything got canceled tonight as far as the pep rallies and all that kind of stuff because of the weather. So you can create your own pep rally.
I will do my best.
Okay. You know, one time you and I talked about South Carolina annexing the city of Charlotte and maybe trading Marlboro County to North Carolina in exchange for Mecklenburg County, but you didn't think that would ever go through.
I think we'd have to throw Dillon and Spartanburg in for that trade.
Wow. All right, let's do it. Here we go. Governor, we'll let you lead. No, we won't. Andre, we'll let you lead since you are trailing by 2 games. We begin with the I still call it the Gator Bowl. They can call it whatever they want to. The Gator Bowl. Texas A&M is giving 7 points to NC State. Andre.
Oh, I think I'll take NC State.
NC State getting the 7. Governor.
Same for me. I think NC State's going to keep this game close. I think A&M will win, but NC State will keep it within a field goal.
I think the Aggies roll. Yeah, I
Diego.
think the Aggies roll. To the Outback Bowl, Iowa, Mississippi State, Bulldogs favored by 7. Governor Hodges.
I'm going to take the points in Iowa. I think they'll keep it under 7.
Andre?
I'm going to take Mississippi State.
Oh, okay.
Corn, it just means more for
It
Mississippi
does.
State.
It's
It
an
just means more.
SEC thing. Yep.
Yeah.
To the Citrus, Kentucky getting 6.5 against Penn State. Andre?
I'm going to take Kentucky.
Yeah, SEC is hot. Governor?
Big player missing from that game, so I'm going to take Penn State.
Come to Penn State.
To the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. It's going to be Ohio State against Washington. Huskies getting 6.5. Governor?
Urban's going out with a nice win. I'm going to take Ohio State.
Yeah, don't disagree there. Andre?
I am as well.
You want Ohio State? Yeah, emotions will be high. Well, we don't know. I mean, I think he'll be back coaching somewhere again another year or so once he, goes back on television for a year and gets the recruits back interested in him, and he'll be back. Sugar Bowl, Georgia, Texas. Texas is getting 13. I don't know how interested Georgia is about being there, Andre.
I'm going to take Georgia.
No. You think they'll be interested enough, huh?
I mean, Georgia had a hell of a year. They gave Alabama everything they could handle, and I think they'll show up strong.
Governor?
I'm with Andre. I think Kirby wants to wash off the embarrassment of that 4th down call, and Georgia will kick butt in this game.
All right. To the Fiesta Bowl. UCF going for another national championship against LSU. and self-proclaimed. LSU favored by 7.5, Governor.
I'm going to take UCF and keeping it close. I think LSU will win, but I believe the pride factor will keep it under 7.5.
All right, so you want UCF in the points, Andre?
I'm going to take LSU.
LSU, boy.
You can't be a true American and pick UCF in this game. You just can't.
Andre
You think they're gonna
loves
win.
the SEC. He loves him some SEC. To the Peach.
Well, LSU is my favorite team in the SEC, but I still think they're going to pull it out.
Okay.
Least favorite team, I mean.
Yeah. All right, LSU, you got Florida, Michigan in the Peach, and Florida is getting 6.5. Andre.
I'm going to take Michigan.
You want Michigan?
That goes against what you just said.
Yeah. I don't like Big Ten teams against speedy SEC teams, Governor.
I'm going to take Florida in this one. I think the points are too attractive, so I'll take Florida.
Tend to agree. To the Orange Bowl, one of the national semis. And we have a sick quarterback with the Sooners. Not sick. You know, the word sick can be used a lot of different ways these days. This means puking. He's been puking.
He's also sick in that sense too, though, Corn.
He is, but you wonder how healthy he's going to be, and he hasn't had a chance to practice very much this week. You wonder how drained he's going to be. And he is getting 14 points, Governor. Oklahoma getting 14 against Alabama. Enough?
He's going to puke when he sees Alabama's defensive line. I'm going to take that.
Andre.
I'm going to take Alabama.
You want Alabama? You know, Clemson used to have a center who used to throw up during the game.
I didn't need to know that, Corn.
Back when Rodney Williams was the quarterback, I believe. What was his name? Tommy something. He literally would throw up during the games.
I thought that was Will Merritt. No.
Good actors used to do that too before they go on stage, you know, on Broadway. That was a good feeling. Get that out of the system.
My sister never did that.
I thought it was
who's the governor take on that one?
He took Alabama.
I think he took Alabama.
Okay.
I thought it was break a leg, not throw your lunch up.
For tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, you took Alabama too, so you both got Bama. Yeah. All right, to the Belt Bowl in Charlotte, and it's Virginia getting 5, Andre, against the Gamecocks.
I'm going to take the Gamecocks.
And of course you are, Governor.
I'm going to take the Gamecocks as well.
Well, you sounded almost undecided there.
I'm a little worried about the points, with all the injuries we have. I think Gamecocks are going to win, but, I think we'll win by a touchdown.
And to the Cotton Bowl, the other national semi, Clemson laying 12.5 against Notre Dame, Governor.
Notre Dame. I think Clemson will win, but I think Notre Dame will keep it under 10 points.
Oh, Andre.
I tend to agree with the governor.
You want Notre Dame too?
I do.
All right, very quickly, a point here of amendments. Andre, anything you want to change?
After a compelling argument from you, I believe I'm going to stick with the SEC and give up Michigan and take Florida as well.
Oh, well, that just puts you even with the governor. You're matching the governor. He took Florida too.
Well, I don't want him to beat me on one just because I.
Yeah. Governor, any changes for you, sir?
No, he and I both had good years. We're around 60%. So regardless of the outcome, I feel good about it.
Well, you know what? You differ in 3 games. So that could make the difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough to swing the tide one way or another. Guys, Happy New Year. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate you very much. Good luck. We'll talk to you next year.
See you now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Governor Jim Hodges, Lieutenant Governor Andre Bauer, former, I don't like to say former every time we have them on, but they are former governor and lieutenant governor.
Ex-governor.
Ex would be a good way to put it as well.
That X has a weird connotation.
All right, we'll come back with some
Dabo
Sweeney coming up.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. As we come to you from the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, as a very, very anticipated game becomes a lot more closer as we get you ready for Clemson and Notre Dame, which kicks off the college football semifinals. Of course, that game is number one, followed by Alabama facing Oklahoma. So Clemson last year had the number 2 slot with the primetime game against the Crimson Tide. This year, they're in the leadoff spot in terms of the playoffs. Of course, the Gamecocks in the leadoff spot on the day, playing at noon in Charlotte. Of course, Clemson and Notre Dame had their final media sessions earlier today, about 100 feet from where I'm sitting here at the Omni Hotel in Dallas. They did the press conference together. We edited out some of Brian Kelly's comments just because we wanted to make sure we heard the most from Sweeney. Some of the things that we did not bring you in this space include Dabo Sweeney shouting out former Clemson SID and Notre Dame alum Tim Bourret saying that I know he's pulling for Clemson, yet I know he has a 4-leaf clover somewhere hidden in his pocket. That was a funny little moment. And also Marty Smith bringing back the comments from 2010 of Terry Don Phillips saying that Dabo Sweeney believed that the best decade of Clemson football was upon them going into that next year after the loss to South Carolina. And Dabo Sweeney, according to Marty and, of course, according to Dabo and others, has fulfilled that promise. That is what you will not hear coming up next. But what you will hear are Dabo's thoughts on the Dexter Lawrence decision that came down from the NCAA, his thoughts on the game itself, and also how the routine has been this week because of the fact that they are playing on a Saturday, so it feels like a normal game week.
One of the things that's been kind of cool about this particular a Monday is actually a Monday and a Friday is actually a Friday, so that's been a little easier. But today is Friday, and so we have a very routine day, and I think that helps. And so we just prepare for the game as we do for all of our games. Obviously you've had a lot more time, but I think the routine, it's important that it's the same. So we'll go about our business today just like we would if we were back at home or on the road, any other Friday. All three of those guys were disappointed, but not surprised. It's not like it was a different test. It was the same urine. Sorry about that, but that's what it was. Different tube, same urine. The test was, the same. I don't think anybody was real surprised by that. So disappointed, but we prepared for that the whole way, or at least since Monday, and our guys are ready to go. But Albert Huggins is a great football player, and you just got to treat it like an injury. Next guy's got to go play. They're not going to cancel the game. Nobody's going to sit around and have a pity party or feel sorry for you. You got to go play. And we're fortunate, very fortunate, that we've got a guy like Albert that, in our eyes, is a co-starter for us that can step in. But I don't want to. I don't want to lessen the impact of Dexter. Obviously, he's a phenomenal player, and we're going to miss him. But it's opportunity for Albert and Niles and Jordan. Those guys have played all year long. They have a ton of experience, and they hurt for their teammate, but you best believe they're excited for a little more opportunity for themselves.
Logistically, what are the next steps for Dexter and those guys with the appeal process?
Well, our Dan Radakovich is kind of running with that with our legal team. They have representation, and there is a process in place. And, obviously the timing of it is not very good for this game. But, if we were fortunate to be able to win the game, then, they'll do everything they can to see if there's any opportunity beyond for next week, if that were possible. So it's really it, and then there's a longer runway, obviously, for the fall, because there's other consequences other than just losing this opportunity. So they'll handle that and deal with that, and that's where it is.
There's been a lot of chatter about postseason reform in college football, and a lot of coaches talk about wanting to preserve the bowls. What can be done, or would you like to see done, that makes sure that these two semifinals and the national championship game don't dwarf the importance and prestige of the other bowls?
There's always going to be tiering in the bowls, just like there's tiering in college football. You have 130 teams, and there's tiering. It's just simple as that. But, I think that we already have expanded playoffs. I mean, I really believe, I say it every year, there's probably only 12 or 15 teams that really have a chance to get here at the beginning of every year. And so to me, everybody wants to expand the playoffs. I think it's already expanded. I think that, the regular season is the playoffs. It's critical. The postseason. I mean, if we lose to Pitt, we're not here. That was a playoff game. If we lost to South Carolina, we're probably not here. That was a playoff game. If we lost to Duke, we're not here. That was a playoff game. So I think we have playoffs every week. If they had lost to Southern Cal, they're not here. It's a playoff game. They'd lost to Pitt, they're not here. It's a playoff game. And so I think that's what makes college football so unique. We're not going to make the playoff every year. I'm just going to go ahead and newsflash everybody here. So there's going to be a time where, we're at whatever bowl, and we're going to love that. And we're going to compete, and we're going to get our team better, and we're going to do the very best we can. And so I think it's great what we have, and I think there's awesome matchups. And Duke beat Temple. I think that's who it was. Yeah. Duke beat Temple, and I know Coach Cutt was pumped up. His team was excited. I think that's awesome. I don't see anything wrong with that. So I think there's always people pushing whatever agendas they want either way. But as a guy who's been a part of it for a long time, as a player and a coach, I love what we have.
That is Dabo Sweeney. Neither coach would offer up any updates on injuries, kind of keeping mum on the word there. But I don't know, guys. I don't know if you were going to go to the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, many Clemson fans would be as excited as they were about this one. Just saying.
Yeah, I've always wondered about what's going to happen when the bubble bursts for Clemson.
Yes.
They've been on such a high now for 4 years, and it's been
Chaos.
a great – yeah, it's been
Chaos will happen.
No, I'm talking about the fans, how they are going to react when they do have to take a step down into a lower tier, as Dabo refers to it.
They're going to freak out.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what we want to see when that happens. How passionate will they be? How strong will the following be? Will they buy up all the tickets if indeed they do have to settle one day for Orlando and the Camping World Bowl, whatever the case may be? But that day hasn't come yet. And the way they are set up right now, talent-wise, where they are in their league, that day might not come for a little while, a 3 more years.
If you logically and you're a ticket buying customer, you say, oh, thank goodness. Now I can save some money this offseason because I've tapped out. My credit cards are maxed out.
I'm telling you, it's I remember meeting some Clemson fans when they went to, let me think now, I got to get my years right here. I guess it was their first national championship out in Phoenix. Is that the first one that they went to?
Phoenix was the one they won, I believe.
No, they lost to Alabama.
Yeah,
they lost to Alabama. And I'm talking to Clemson fans who spent $450 per ticket, and, of course, the flights and the hotels. And they said, look, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Who knows when the Tigers will be back in this situation, so I'm willing to break the bank.
Oops.
Yeah, really.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, Corn. I had a very similar discussion with folks. A young lady who was a former baton twirler for the Clemson band, and she said, she remembered when Clemson wasn't going to bowls and wasn't doing this, and she said you don't want to take for granted this run of success, and you want to try and be there as much as you possibly can. But like you said, that thing has a way of running itself out.
Yeah, I remember years ago a guy telling me, this is many, many years ago, I said, how is it down in Alabama now that they're losing a few games? I can buy a ticket now.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get a ticket before.
Let's see how many Georgia fans go to the Sugar Bowl. I mean, we'll see. We saw where one of their top players opted out yesterday. We'll see if the Georgia fans are excited. This is why I think Texas getting the 13 points is a wise pick against Georgia. Well, I wonder about just the mental state of the Georgia football team and how excited they are to be in the Sugar Bowl.
There are plenty of ways to get in trouble in New Orleans outside of that football game. I don't think many Georgia fans are sad about that particular trip.
All right, when we come back, we'll got more from the Gamecocks and the Tigers for you, plus 4th and goal. Ellis Johnson, the final word on the games for this weekend, coming up in hour 2.
sinuses.
Mucinex Sinus Max Triple Action fights headache, congestion, and pressure. Let's end this. Round two of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Back we are, hour number 2, Friday night edition of Sports Talk Football Friday night finale. Unless, well, if Clemson makes it to the national championship game, they'd play on a Monday, which means we would have kind of a football Friday night, but they wouldn't play until Monday, so it would lose its effect to some degree. But anyway, if Clemson makes it to Santa Clara, we'll do another football Friday night, kind of, sort of, next Friday night. But this is a real football Friday night because the games are being played tomorrow, so it feels like a typical football week here in South Carolina. USC and Virginia at high noon in Charlotte, and we'll see how many fans turn out. I think there's going to be a pretty good crowd. I think Virginia and USC sold all of their tickets given to them. We'll see what kind of walk-up there is and how many tickets were sold out of other venues and in the Charlotte area. I'm thinking there'll be 50,000 plus at B of A. And, of course, it'll be packed at Are they expecting 100,000 plus for that game, Will?
I don't know what the expected attendance is, but I know that it's become a lot harder to get around town today as a result of the influx of people coming into town.
Yeah. All right, quickly, a couple of recruiting notes. Then we're going to get back to our preview content tonight. Going to hear from USC's Jake Bentley and from Clemson's Hunter Renfro. Just a couple of recruiting items. Checking with someone who's in touch with Chris Steele, the cornerback out in California, and being told by this individual that he's still hearing South Carolina and Florida, primarily with Chris Steele. So I think it's worth paying attention to going into his announcement 1 week from today, January 5th, right?
Now, when you say announcement, you already mean he's already signed, but he's not telling you who he signed with.
Correct, Amundo.
Okay.
Yeah, he was supposed to have signed earlier this month, keeping it to himself and announcing it on the 5th. So we shall see on that. By the way, I don't know if this was public or not, but Will Muschamp answered a question today about the Helinskis and brought this up, and that is that Ryan Helinski, his quarterback signee, was going to play in the World All-American Bowl in Mexico City this past weekend. But he could only play in 2 All-Star games. He'd already played in 1. He had to choose between that and the All-American game or the All-American Bowl in San Antonio. So he has chosen that. So he'll be playing in the All-American Bowl in San Antonio as well.
They probably heard about the condition of the field down in Mexico and decided not to play.
Entirely possible. Or maybe he thought he couldn't make it back. If the wall goes up, he might be stuck in Mexico.
On the fence.
Not good.
Clemson back in the state of Alabama seeking another big-time receiver. J.J. Evans is 6'3", 185 from Montevallo. Tigers offered in November. He later visited for the USC game. He's got big-time offers, including Alabama, Auburn, many others, Georgia, LSU, Texas A&M. This guy last year had 74 catches, 1,706 yards, and 18 touchdowns. He averaged 23 yards per catch. Of course, he's very interested in Clemson because of the way they play freshmen at wide receiver and, of course, the fact that wide receivers have a big part in their offense. And in basketball, Clemson and USC yesterday offered 6-foot point guard Adrian Ace Baldwin of Baltimore, according to the high school's Twitter account. St. Francis is playing this week at the Chick-fil-A Classic in Columbia. Some of his other offers are Maryland, VCU, Georgetown, Miami, East Carolina, Connecticut, Rutgers, and Providence. And, of course, he would be in the 2020 class. There you go with some recruiting notes to take you into the weekend. Be sure to check out our recruiting on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC, the recruiting podcast, which we will be updating more regularly once we get out of the holidays and back into the full-time recruiting mode. You can check that out as well from our website, SportsTalkSC.com, or go to SoundCloud. Follow us on SoundCloud. Sign up to get our podcast. By the way, you may have noticed this or may not, but something else we have started is a podcast of Sports Talk, which basically is the nightly show put in a podcast form via SoundCloud, which you can download or easily listen to via Twitter or just directly via SoundCloud. So make sure you make a note of that. If you miss a show, another way to go back and listen to us, an easy way to listen to us if you're working out, going for a walk, driving around, whatever the case may be. The nightly edition of Sports Talk now available in podcast form through SoundCloud. Now, today in Charlotte, Jake Bentley was one of the Gamecock players we had a chance to talk to. He's on the verge of erasing more records in the Gamecock record book. And we talked with him about that and more. You're about to bump Steve Tannehill from the record book, huh?
Oh man, I think he came to practice the other day and said he was like, "Man, if you're gonna break my record, at least tell me first or something." It was funny. He came and hung out with us for a few days at practice.
What kind of zone are you in mentally since the Texas A&M game? I mean, you've been as good as any quarterback in the country throwing the football.
Yeah, man, I think it's just kind of taking on the mindset to just trust my teammates and to not worry about any outside distractions and really just worrying on what we have to do to be successful. And just really confided in my teammates and relied on them heavily throughout the second half of the season. I think it's just worked out well for us.
Is it safe to say that Debo was sort of your security blanket as a quarterback looking for a receiver? And if so, who's your security blanket now?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, he found ways to get open. And, he always did that, was able to take a 2-yard pass and make it an 80-yard touchdown. So it's a real electric player that we're not going to have. But I think we look at guys like Brian and Shai, they have those big play abilities as well. And have proved it continuous out this year. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun matchup for us and to see what guys get open. And that's the ones I'm going to get it to.
Their secondary's got 15 interceptions. They have a corner in particular is very highly regarded. So as you prepare for them, are there some areas you have to just sort of stay away from in attacking their secondary?
I think the biggest thing is just going through reads and making sound decisions and not predetermining where you're going. They do a lot of, disguises on defense to try to get the quarterback to think one thing and then they do another. So that's kind of the big thing we talked about is just staying locked in of what we got to do. And not getting too greedy with the ball and just taking what they give you.
And the center snap situation with the change there, whether it's either one of the guys working there or maybe Donnell sliding back over there. But how's that been in practice, in preparation? How confident are you in either Manos or Farrell stepping into that spot?
Yeah, Chandler and Hagan did a great job of just stepping in, and they've done a great job all year of really just stepping in when their number was called, and whether it's on the second team throughout practice or during the game, just being able to communicate effectively and just going there with just confidence to get the job done.
And where are you with your thinking about next year regarding the NFL or returning? Have you gotten your grade back? You gotten any information back?
Yeah, I got some information back, and me and Coach talked about it. But the one thing that we kind of kept going back to is just want to focus on this game. And I think it would be unjust for me to not put my full energy and effort to this game. For my teammates and for our seniors. So
you plan to announce something soon after the game, one way or the other?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Locker room post game or
exactly? I don't know exactly the date, but just got to figure it out and let you know.
Do you know what you're going to do?
Still trying to just figure it out. I think I put some thought in it to it. I think I got a good idea, but just I guess we'll see.
So. What do you think? I mean, listen, let's don't talk about what he should do, okay? I mean, it's irrelevant what we think he should do. He did not ask our opinions. What do you think he's going to do?
Come back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he stays, guys. I really do.
Yeah. I think so, too. I think unless he got some kind of, what kind of year is it for quarterbacks nationally this year? It's not a great year, is it?
It's a bad year nationally, but here's the thing. I look at the tea leaves, and I think if he would have wanted the chance to go, Bobby Bentley would be the offensive coordinator at Auburn right now.
Possible. Maybe not.
I think.
I also think that win or lose games next year, depending on not depending on the record, but if he plays well with that gauntlet they have to run through next year, he'll be a top 15 pick.
See, that's also the thing is that his best games came against defenses that had a particular deficiency, whether it's Clemson's secondary, Ole Miss's entire defense, and some of the other schools that they did well against were teams that honestly they were better than. And I think from the standpoint of where he sits, he stands to gain a lot more by coming back for a year, getting a whole nother year of practice, and also, like you said, that gauntlet of a schedule next year with the high level he'll have to play against.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Columbia and from Dallas as we continue our coverage of the Gamecocks in the Belk Bowl, Clemson in the Cotton Bowl. Of course, yesterday in Dallas at AT&T Stadium, we had the media day between both teams, Clemson and Notre Dame, getting ready for the Cotton Bowl tomorrow at 4 Eastern. Had a chance to have a one-on-one sit-down with Clemson wide receiver Hunter Renfrow, who's on the verge of playing his last game as a Tiger or his penultimate game as a Tiger. He, of course, is very, very prominent when it comes to Clemson's prestige and history, the game-winning catch in the national championship game 2 years ago. I asked him as a senior leader and captain just exactly what the mood of the team was after the news of last week involving the 3 suspended Clemson players.
A little bit. It was kind of a curveball thrown our way, something we really didn't expect. I think that some of us knew about it kind of last week when it came out, maybe last Thursday or Friday, but so we kind of knew what to expect, but it's something that we didn't anticipate. So it's been a little different, but it's kind of like an injury. I know Coach Sweeney's talked about that, but that doesn't affect anything we do on the offensive side of the ball. So we're just trying to have a great week of preparation for us.
How do you prevent that not being like a downer or I guess ruining this experience, which is supposed to be a positive one, at least leading up to the game?
I mean, you just kind of take it as an injury. Like I said, it doesn't really affect us that much. I mean, that's one of our good friends, and we feel bad for him, and hopefully it will get resolved. But we have bigger goals in front of us that we need to go execute.
I know I asked you this when we were back at Clemson, but it's getting closer now. Could be your second to last or last game.
Mm-hmm.
Is it starting to kind of sink in now?
It is a little bit, but I'm excited what comes next. I'm excited to finish well, but we have unfinished business as well too. And so we kind of have a goal left on our goal sheet. And so we're really more focused on finishing well than anything else.
Not to look too far into the future, but has anybody approached you about what your pro prospects look like as far as where you might go if that is something in your future?
Yeah. Talked to a few people, and I was talking to Adam Humphries earlier, and he's had a nice career. He played here last Sunday, and he was kind of telling me about punts and the Jumbotron and stuff like that, and reading the balls off the lights and stuff like that. And so that's something that I've dreamed about, kind of like I dreamed about at Clemson, coming to Clemson and playing. And so I'm excited about whatever it holds.
Is he the model for you as far as?
Yeah, I was a freshman, and he was a senior, and I kind of looked up to him. And so, yeah, I would say so.
Wes Welker type kind of guy.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, whatever I can play, and I think Adams had a good kind of he came in as like a walk-on basically in the NFL, and he's had 4 years success and about to sign a new contract, so he's proven.
One thing Jeff Scott said yesterday was you can almost have a situation where you have 2 game plans because of how much time you have.
Yeah.
How do you prevent especially almost doing too much?
Yeah.
Much in on your plates.
Yeah, we just have to respond to what the coaches give us. You can definitely the bye week and bowl game are the 2 times where it's like I have a page of notes and I start another page. Usually I have about half a page of notes for any given game, but here you go through a full page and you start the next page and you just try to condense everything and just really go back over those notes and write a new set of notes.
That is, of course, Hunter Renfrow. Guys, he was talking about Adam Humphries with regards to that particular situation with him as an undrafted guy. Wes Welker is an undrafted guy. Do you think that Hunter can profile and have the same type of output in the league?
I don't see why not, because he can help you, obviously, as a receiver. He can help you in the return game. And, he's a guy that's not going to hurt you, in any way if he joins your program. So I think somebody's going to look at his career. They're going to look at him as a guy who just makes big catches and just makes big plays. He has excellent speed. He's tough. He's smart. So, yeah, I definitely think he's going to get a chance to play in the league and probably do well.
Now, what Alabama did the last time they played Clemson last year is the fact that he is a very good chain-moving receiver. but Alabama kept Clemson in second, third, and long, and that negated where his strengths are. But getting back to the question and answer is that you didn't ask him, Will, is if he was coming back to Clemson for his 10th year.
That's not that's funny. There are some people who think that he was there when Howard Rock got there.
Tell you what a career from a guy that was a walk-on. Wofford was his best offer, and they wanted him to come up there and play quarterback because he was an option quarterback.
Yeah.
His dad played at Wofford, but he wanted to go to Clemson. He was a Clemson fan. His dream was to play at Clemson, and he walked on, and he's just made himself an unbelievable career, and he's just made himself really, there's a lot of faces of the success that Clemson's had over the last 4 years. He is one of those.
You got to remember that it's something about it, and they're not all in my head as far as names are concerned, but we've seen a lot of high school option quarterbacks because they're the best athlete and had to make quick decisions. They're like comedians. They can play a lot of positions and very talented because they've had to think the game.
All right, let's look at our Sports Talk Pick'em Challenge situation going into the Major Bowl season here. And as we look at where things stand at this point, we see that it is none other than the Professor, a 5-0 ACC SEC championship week. It was championship week for a lot of leagues, but those two in particular. 5-0 that week. Congratulations. 47-23 overall. So you lead. You have a 3-game lead on the bad boy, Alan Smothers, 44-26. Then I am a game back. I was 4-1 in championship week. So was Alan. I'm 43-27. Let's see. After that, it would be Matt the Newsman, who is 42-28 after a 3-2 championship week, along with the Money Coach, 42-38. He was 3-2 that week. Let's see. Going on down the list here. Got to keep on going down the list. Kev Cohen had a 5-0 championship week. He's 39-31. Going on down the list, going deeper and deeper down the list, we see that Brian, our producer extraordinaire, had a 3-2 championship week. He is 38-32. And then way on down the list, kind of down where the Cleveland Cavaliers live these days.
That's not nice.
3-2.
Blossom game is a proud Cavalier. Okay, that's not nice.
3-2 for you. 3-2 for you. But 32-38. What do you have to say for yourself? Why do you suck at this?
I don't suck at this. Teams just don't do what I tell them to do. That's the problem.
You're saying they're not listening to you.
They're not listening.
Yeah.
Very few people in this world do.
Sprain.
All right, let's see what we've got for the bowl season. The Gator Bowl, the majority of us are taking Texas A&M. Only the bad boys taking NC State, of course.
That's a
goes without saying.
About to say, come on now.
Outback Bowl, it looks like most of us like Mississippi State. Couple like Iowa. Kev Cohen likes Iowa. The bad boy likes Iowa. Getting those points. Penn State and Kentucky in the Citrus Bowl. It looks like more of a mixed bag here. Mostly Penn State. The majority of us are taking Penn State. I like Kentucky there.
They didn't finish the season well, in my opinion.
Okay, so you're taking Penn State. Ohio State and Washington, and most of us are taking Ohio State. I've got Ohio State. Pro's taking Washington, and Brian's taking Washington. Georgia, Texas. It looks like most are taking Texas and the points. That's what I'm doing. So is Will. So is Pro. LSU, everybody's taking LSU except for the Money Coach, Michigan, Florida. Mostly Michigan. I'm taking Florida. I just think that Michigan is not going to give a damn. Florida will. And that quarterback played well against South Carolina. They beat Florida State soundly. Alabama, Oklahoma. Looks like it's mostly Alabama. Pro's taking Oklahoma. Will's taking Oklahoma.
How many points?
Actually, it's kind of a split. I like Alabama, especially with a sick quarterback. USC, Virginia. USC, Virginia. Everybody's taking the Gamecocks except for Matt the Newsman. He likes Virginia getting the points. Clemson, Notre Dame. And everybody's taking the Tigers except for Kev Cohen. The big kahuna, Bobby Harton, he's not going to take Clemson. And The money coach is taking Notre Dame. Everybody else is taking the Tigers. All right, going to hit a break here on Sports Talk. We have got Ellis Johnson coming up in just a moment. Be right back. Oh, no, I'm in a noisy place. Well, for the time being, we've got a punch on Ellis Johnson. We switched the times on him. Strictly our decision.
Oops.
And he is caught up now in some family business, and it's really noisy, and he's with some family right now. So looks like we may have to punt on our fourth and goal. Does anybody punt when it's fourth and goal? We may have to punt.
Is this a DNP coach's decision like we had in the NBA?
I think so.
We never did talk about the NBA game I witnessed the other day.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to go back and do a couple of things. I needed to mention the Big Kahuna. I think I skipped him when going over the standings. He's actually doing very well. 40-30, Bobby Harton, a 4-1 week in the championship week. So he did very well. That's another one who's ahead of you in the standings, Will, the Big Kahuna.
Very, very, very Very nice.
Yeah. So tell us quickly about the basketball game.
If you've never seen Luka Doncic play, either in person or on TV, if they're going to Charlotte, I don't know when the Dallas Mavericks are there next. He is must-see in person. He's going to be a fantastic player in the NBA. He was one rebound short of a triple-double in a game where Anthony Davis went 34 and 18 on the opposite side. Fantastic atmosphere.
Yeah, but he's been playing pro ball since he was 12, and I think.
How was the crowd? Was it packed?
It was packed. It was full.
Yeah.
And Dabo was there. A bunch of other people were there. And I met Noah Syndergaard of the Mets.
I saw the picture. Yeah. Somebody else took a picture with him, too. Somebody else.
It was David Hood because he stalked him after I showed him where the heck he was.
Is that right?
Jerk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why has he got to roll on my phone like that?
Was Syndergaard, was he impressed to meet you? Did he ask for your autograph or anything?
He did not.
Oh, that's too bad.
Not. We have a mutual friend, though.
I'm sure you do. Yeah. To another Gamecock we had a chance to talk to today. Big Donnell Stanley from the home of champions, Latta, who you talk about, truly a guy that's been around a long time. 5th year with the Gamecocks, could come back for a 6th if he decides to do so, and had a chance to talk with him today at Media Day and get his thoughts about the bowl week and the game tomorrow. Donnell, on the offensive line in preparation for the Belk Bowl, because you've shifted over to guard, how have things gone with that transition? Is it as smooth as you hoped it would be?
Yeah, I'm coming in back at guard. I was a little rusty, and I had to, get everything back down as far as like footwork wise and everything like that. But I mean, the guards just got to be like my natural position because I've been playing it so long. But I mean, anytime you take time away from it like that, you got to get it back.
Is guard easier than center?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for center, maybe I could say that because I never played center until this year. But center, you got a lot of calling to do. You got to just make sure everybody's on one accord.
It's pretty amazing how well you picked up center since you never played it before because it's so complicated, snapping and calling out the plays. How do you feel that you adapted to that role?
I mean, yeah, I felt like the longer I played it, the better I got. I mean, early on, I couldn't get good snaps, a lot of bad snaps and everything like that. But, I mean, just practicing and everything, staying with Jake for extra snaps got me better at it.
So in practice, preparing for this game, has the focus up front been on improving the run blocking to try to help the running game get going, or just anything, just the normal preparation? Was there anything in particular you guys focused on?
No, we just had a normal preparation for this game. So, I mean, we know what we can do. We know what we got to do. So, I mean, we're treating it like any other week.
So, looking at the center spot where the two guys have been competing, how's that looking? What's the confidence level among the other linemen within these guys?
Yeah, we went ahead and threw Hank Manos in there. He's a guy that probably didn't think he'll start any game this year, but I mean, he stepped up for us. I mean, we know how hard Hank works. He's in the weight room every day, so Coach Wilson gave him a chance, and I got all the confidence in the world, and so does all the other guys. So he's been showing it in practice this week, so he's got to bring it over to the game now.
Yeah, Hank being a former state wrestling champion, I got to believe he brings a lot of toughness and strength to the position.
Yeah, he brings a lot of violence to it, if you could say. I mean, for him to be a wrestler and then coming to play football, it still blows my mind. But I mean, he's worked hard. He's put on some good weight. He was like 265 when he got here. Now he's starting as an SEC lineman. So, I mean, that just tells you the amount of work you've put into this. So.
Looking at Virginia's defensive front, what concerns you?
I mean, they got their interior three. They got some. They played a lot of 3-4, like they said. But I mean, they got some pretty good guys, and they play disciplined. They play smart. So I mean, we just got to be focused on our assignment and be ready for anything that throws at us.
All right. As far as the NFL is concerned, you're telling me that you've gotten some positive news back. So kind of what's in your mind at this particular point as you look at this last game here?
Yeah, I just wanted to get some good feedback and just try to weigh out my options. I already talked to Coach, and I think I'm ready. I think I got my decision, but I'm still waiting until after the game. So just focusing on the game right now.
Is it too much for people to think for a young man to want to spend 6 years in college playing football?
No, it's not. It's not even like that. Like I said earlier, I mean, I'm 23, be 24 in June. So, I mean, I don't have any bills to pay. I mean, I don't have any kids. I'm not married or anything. So, if you ask most 23-year-olds right now, they'll love to be in my position. So, I mean, I'm just enjoying myself, you know.
You mentioned Coach Muschamp. How much does it help that him being in the NFL, his time in the NFL, and having those contacts helped with the back and forth and making your decision that much easier?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you got a coach like that, it's good for you. I mean, he does this for all the guys that wants to leave early and everything like that. So, I mean, he'll help you every step of the way, and he supports you whether you stay or you leave.
How big was it for you to learn that you had been inducted into the Latta High School Athletic Hall of Fame?
Well, it hadn't really hit me yet because you only told me like 5 minutes ago. But I mean that's good on. I mean, it'll probably hit me in the next hour or so when I call my uncle and ask him about it. But I mean that's it. I mean, anytime you get in the Hall of Fame, that's good, especially in Latta. I mean, that's my home and everything. And I mean, everybody pretty much knows who I am back in Latta. So I mean, Latta's a good place. Yeah.
Big man on campus, big man in town. So here we go again. You think Stanley will return for that 6th year?
He almost told you right there he was gone.
You think so? You think that's what the hesitation was?
Now, I'll tell you what pushed him over to go into the NFL. When you told him he was a member of the
Latta
Hall of Fame, he said, "Well, wait a minute, man, I've been in college too long."
I think it's very, very hard to envision somebody wanting to stay in college a 6th year and knowing how old he'd be. That's another year earning potential. And if he got the kind of positive feedback that he says he did, I think why not start that process? And again, this is a similar situation like with Debo last year, guys. I mean, I think we all agree that Debo had stuff that he could prove, but if he would have left last year, I don't think anybody would have begrudged him, especially after the injury. And I think from the standpoint of where Stanley sits, if he decides to call it a career after 5 years, no one would bat an eye negatively on that.
Well, you know, the key point here is when you talk about, and I know I'm grasping at straws, but I'll explain it anyway. Playing the position of center, he has really gotten adept at doing that. He's already been proficient at guard. I don't think he can play tackle at the NFL, but guard and center. Well, another year at center, that would help him. Otherwise, if you think of his longest career path, is it in his mind, in the back of his head, that one day he wants to coach? Well, now he gets his baptismal under fire next year because knowing Muschamp, he'll tell him, look, you're my center, but you're also a player's coach because you're going to coach up the younger guys when I'm not there. So it depends on what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt him at all when it comes to the NFL, the fact that he's played all 3 positions on the offensive line in his career and has proven to be quite good at all 3. And he had to make the toughest transition. And that is, you know, he went from tackle to the inside to guard to the center spot. And he had never played center before until he became a center this past spring. And
correct me if I'm wrong, Corn. We really haven't had snap issues with him, which is, I think, a testament to his ability to be a malleable guy and a testament to his work ethic.
Absolutely. I think he's done a heck of a job. He's a big, strong kid, and, you know, he's quite dedicated to his craft. So, you know, 6 years is a lot to ask unless you just love school, you want to come back and get a master's or something else academically, and you believe that the NFL can wait and your family's in good shape. They don't need the rush to the bank.
I hear Mel Kiper right now. Any offensive lineman that can stay up on a horse, that's the guy I want.
Or maybe you want the horse who can carry this guy around. When we come back, going to hear from the Tigers' Isaiah Simmons here on Sports Talk.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Final segment of the week on Sports Talk, as basically everything is cleared out here in the Omni Hotel. They're actually doing an event over at the Gaylord Hotel, which is nearby here in downtown Dallas, with the band Lady Antebellum. So that's where all the media honks have gone, and we stand alone here as the last people standing in the Dallas media headquarters in advance of the Cotton Bowl between Clemson and Notre Dame. They play for the Field Scoville Trophy, the man who was named as the entrepreneur, basically, who kind of came in and started the New Year's Day Bowl tradition here in Dallas with the Cotton Bowl back in the 1930s. And one of the first members of the Cotton Bowl was Clemson back in 1939, a game where they ended up winning by a very robust count of 6-3. So really offensive-minded contest there. We had a chance yesterday at Media Day to talk to Clemson defensive back / linebacker hybrid man Isaiah Simmons. He is, of course, playing that role that Dorian O'Daniel played last year, where he comes in kind of and covers the slot in the nickel packages, and also serves as a linebacker in run defense situations. And, of course, when we think about the standpoint of where he sits, he's certainly had a pretty good mentor there. Here's a little bit of what we had to talk about with him, including just as we've talked about all the week, what is the mood of the team going into this game, of course, with the news involving Dexter Lawrence and the 2 other suspended players after finding out that news earlier this week.
The mood hasn't really changed. Everybody really still has the same vision. Dexter still has the same vision. He's still. It's not like he's not with us anymore. He just can't play. So, everyone's gave him the loving hand. Just show him that we still care about him, love him, and everything. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like the next man up.
You played the same role basically as Dorian O'Daniel last year. How much of a help was he to you kind of transitioning into this role, which is somewhat new for you?
A lot. I actually watched a lot of his – when I first moved to this position, I actually watched a lot of his film to kind of like figure out the technique, because it's a way different technique than it is playing safety. So just kind of seeing how to play the position and everything really helped me out a lot.
Is that almost kind of like a new avenue for guys to get in who might be, have a safety body but linebacker speed, that kind of thing?
I know it's becoming more of a norm. I know in the NFL, like, big safeties are becoming more of a thing, as well as in college football. Because I know you used to not see guys my size playing maybe like a more of a defensive back kind of safety position. But I don't know. I feel like it's really helpful, actually.
What are you expecting to see from Notre Dame?
Notre Dame, they're gonna run the ball and take shots. So quick game, shots, run game. That's probably the main thing.
The quick game is something that your team has struggled with a little bit when it comes to some of the other things. You had some of the experiences earlier in the year with A&M and Syracuse and South Carolina. What is so difficult about defending that?
I wouldn't say it's difficult. I'd say those games, it was more of us beating ourselves. And because, we've played 13 games, and we've only had 3 games where it's kind of been a struggle. So I wouldn't really plant that on the name of our defense. It was more of us doing wrong.
As far as just what you're looking to accomplish, what you need to do to win this football game, what are you looking to personally accomplish and make sure that you guys are timing correct and you're on keys when it comes to Saturday?
Well, you got to fit the gaps and stop the run. If you can't stop the run, you can't win. So stop the run and then eliminate their most successful plays that they have in the past game. And that'll probably be the main thing.
Last year, my kind of pet player for Clemson was Dorian O'Daniel. You all know that. But he was the leading tackler last year in Clemson. And, look who was the leading tackler this year on Clemson, none other than Isaiah Simmons. 74 tackles, leads the secondary, or at least players outside of the defensive line, in tackles for loss with 7.5, leads the team in passes defensed at 4, and forced fumbles with 3. He has been a very key cog to what has been a defense that, at least from the Tigers' perspective, outside of a couple of aspects this year, has performed about as good as any in the country.
All right, very good. So let's take our final minutes here between the 3 of us and talk about the 2 games tomorrow and how we think the games are going to play out. And from a South Carolina-Virginia standpoint, I think South Carolina, it's too bad they're short with players in a number of different areas. I mean, they are far from a healthy football team. They are healthier than they were by getting a few guys back, including having Bryson Allen Williams back. I think he will be instrumental in helping contain a very dangerous quarterback in Perkins in watching him play. I mean, he's very good when a play breaks down and turning nothing into something, but he also throws the ball well on the run. The Gamecocks have got to be very wary of the outstanding receiver on the Virginia side, Olamide Zaccheaus, 81 catches this year, all ACC performer. He is dangerous, so you got to know where he is. And, of course, Virginia's running game is not bad. They have a near 1,000-yard rusher in the backfield, along with Perkins, who actually rushed for over 1,000 yards, but statistically speaking, he's under that because of the yardage deducted because of sacks. It's a pretty good offensive team, and Bronco Mendenhall was known when he was at BYU for his offensive prowess. I think we're seeing that now. I think South Carolina is going to have to win a shootout. I think Bentley's going to have to be very, very much on his game like he was against Clemson, and I think that you're going to see somebody else in the absence of Deebo Samuel emerge as a star. It might be Josh Vann. It might be Keel Pollard. Somebody else is going to have to step up and have, or Brian Edwards. Somebody's going to have to step up and have a big day receiving. We're talking about a double-digit kind of day and 150, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Gamecocks are going to cover, which I'm projecting that they will. I think that they're going to win this thing in a shootout, which is now not something that is all that unusual for South Carolina, having the offense carry the team while the defense just tries to hang in there.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't have as much confidence in this game as I do the other one. I do think that the Gamecocks have more than proven throughout the week that they want to be there. And, of course, from the standpoint of where they sit, this would be a very big game for them to win and kind of solidify a season that continues its progress. And also, it's a big developmental game for them for the 2019 season to get more guys experience and also, from that perspective, yield some more playmakers that could be a part of their team in the coming years. I don't know if it's going to be as high scoring as you think, Quan. I think more low scoring, but I do think that they cover the spread and win the football game outright.
Well, the key point in this game is the calendar still says tomorrow that it's 2018, but I think Will Muschamp and his coaching staff has done a pretty good job of making these players think there's nobody hurt. This is the team we're going to go into 2019 with, and let's start it now. And so that's the mindset they have to have. The key point in this game, as you say, a shootout, I think it has to be, if you're South Carolina, you have to be ahead of schedule, get the lead early, and I think establish that your line of scrimmage is tough, and you're going to run the football right at Virginia and soften them up and keep their offense off the field.
All right, as for Clemson, Notre Dame, I know people are talking about Notre Dame's running attack, and, you know, it's good. They run the ball well. Ian Book has been hot as a quarterback, 70%, but I think he is going to have the book thrown at him from this Clemson defense. He's going to get schooled by Venables. Clemson rolls, they cover, they move on to the national championship game.
Clemson 34, Notre Dame 21. I think Notre Dame tries to make it a close cover for Clemson, but I do think that this game is not in doubt for Clemson, at least going out. I don't think there's ever going to be a point where they feel comfortable in the game as far as that goes, but I do think that they will win this game decisively.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence suddenly cannot morph into a freshman. He's a sophomore now, but I think his Linus blanket tomorrow will be the Clemson defense. But as I said before, when we started our show, I think Clemson's team speed is what is going to really be the downfall of Notre Dame. By just too much team speed against a team that's very experienced in Notre Dame. But I think speed kills in this football game tomorrow.
All right, a reminder, double barrel coverage for you on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. I'll be in Charlotte. Will be in Dallas, so make sure you check us out and have us as part of your enjoyment of watching all the football on Saturday. Guys, enjoy. We'll see everybody on Monday night. Thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend, and see you Monday.